Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 45 of Bardic Quest, the show where a group of British-trained actors tell fantastical, improvised stories through the medium of Dungeons and Dragons. As before, we are still without Annina and James this week, but I did want to give a quick shout-out to James Webster, the legend that is, who created the beautiful artwork that serves as many of the backdrops that feature in the show, and indeed the artwork in the opening credit sequence. It's fantastic artwork, and you can go and support James over at patreon.com/JamesRPGArt. He posts loads of artwork all the time, and it's super cool to use if you happen, like we do, to carry out your D&D sessions through Zoom or other online platforms that allow for virtual backgrounds. So yes, do check him out, and thank you, James, for allowing us to use your artwork. Also, I've not mentioned our t-shirts for a while, but we have new ones. We have new designs featuring Thorik's t-shirt, which I think looks really cool.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
And for those who are up for a little game, you can actually translate the writing around Thorik's name and see if you can suss out exactly what it says. It's pretty cool.
Get yourself the Book of Hands, or...
Yes, I think it's in the Book of Hands, yeah.
It's in the Book of Hands?
Yeah, and that should be enough for you to be able to translate it for a little bit of extra fun. And we also have another t-shirt as well, so there's about 3 different designs now available, with more on the way. So yes, do check that out, bardicquest.com/shop. And yes, take a look. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into this week's episode of Bardic Quest. Last time, Thorik, Johann, and Sister Gariel ventured towards the old owl well to attempt to take out the red wizard Hamun Kost. Sensing and being aware of a slew of undead creatures, possibly zombies, lurking within the ruins of the watchtower, they took a slightly less direct approach, venturing round the back of the Red Wizard's tent before cutting a hole in the side and ambushing him from within. The Red Wizard, after taking several hits of significant damage from both of them, cast Misty Step on himself and stepped outside of the tent and attempted to paralyze Johann with magic, but failed to do so. Johann leapt from out of the tent and managed to hit him with a finishing blow, but rather than killing him outright, has showed perhaps some temporary mercy in an attempt to gather some information from him. And the Red Wizard, knowing his defeat, called off his zombies, who are now stood behind the Red Wizard, and Johann, who has a blade at the Red Wizard's throat, and has just asked him whether or not he is indeed Glassstaff, to which he responded, no. So, Johann, you have the blade at his neck. What would you like to do?
So I look up at Thorik and then down again. Where is Glassstaff?
He looks at you, And he says, I'm afraid I have no idea of whom you speak.
If you lie to me, wizard, I will prolong your suffering more than anyone has ever inflicted on anyone before or since.
I tell you no lies.
Can I make an insight check?
Yes, you certainly can.
9.
9. As far as you can tell, he's telling you the truth.
Yeah. What's Glassstaff planning?
How do you expect me to know the answer to that question when I have no idea who this Glassstaff is?
You telling me that 2 red wizards pop up in the same area and you have no idea about each other?
Well, yes, I guess. Would you... And he kind of looks down at the blade and he says, would you be so kind?
No.
He says, Who are you?
Slightly exasperated. Hates repeating himself. My name is Johann Hale of the Brethren Vigilant.
He says, yes, the Brethren. Have they sent you here?
Let's call this taking work home with me.
I see. And tell me, Brethren, what is it that you and your order seek most of all?
You know as well as I do, wizard. It is the destruction of all malevolent magic users.
Yes, that's what I thought. Well, what if I told you I might have some answers which might help your brethren and yourself in these goals of yours? And he looks down at the blade still there at his neck.
I push it closer to him and say, "Spare me your tricks, wizard. I care not for your lies and deceits."
He says, no tricks, no deceit. I think, actually, in a strange twist of fate, perhaps, brethren, that we could perhaps be seeking exactly the same thing.
What?
Knowledge.
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 Speak plainly.
Well, you of the Brethren are, how shall we say, partial to gathering as much information as you can on your enemies, correct?
Go on.
Well, what if I told you that someone from history has already managed to achieve and collate this knowledge that you seek?
Whom do you speak of?
Well, that is somewhat of a stumbling block. I don't yet know the answer to that question, but it is a significant part of my research here, and perhaps there is an element of, if you don't mind me saying, mutual interest and benefit if perhaps we work together in obtaining said knowledge.
I do not need your help, wizard. I can attain the knowledges or... Excuse me. I can attain the Order's knowledge on my own. It's really hard to say.
Yes. But with respect, and he looks down at the blade yet again, with respect, your order has been making such efforts for some time. We're talking hundreds of years, and there are still plenty of gaps in the Order's knowledge, wouldn't you say?
You know too much, wizard.
Well, if I may be so bold, as a red wizard, it behooves me somewhat to be aware of your organization.
What is it you suggest, wizard? Speak quickly. Your usefulness is waning.
Of course. Well, I possess certain knowledge, and I am missing but one significant piece of information that if we are able to acquire it together, we could obtain this knowledge and further the ambitions of your brethren. And that this I would trade to you for my life.
What knowledge are you referring to?
Well, this collation of sorts that I speak.
Is it a tome, a volume?
A volume of sorts, yes.
What does it contain? What knowledge?
Well, all the knowledge that I think the brethren could wish to seek out, for sure.
All of it?
All of it.
Johann thinks for a second. Thorik.
Hmm?
Do you have any questions for this piece of filth?
Thorik comes over and interposes himself between Johann and the ghouls. Brings the spiritual weapon up next to him, and just keeping an eye on them, casts light on his warhammer and just kind of like holds it in front of him, sort of generally in their direction, just to make sure they don't come any closer for now.
Okay, and you kind of see them kind of... there's almost like fairly blank expressions from their, foggy-eyed, glassy-eyed looks and their greeny-grey, fleshy faces. But you do sense a somewhat of a wince. One of them has a maggot just peek through the hole of its cheek and crawl back into its mouth. But beyond that, they remain fairly still.
I won't, but I was going to say I turn the light off so I can't see that detail. But no, I keep it on. So what are you offering, wizard?
Well, let's call it an alliance of sorts, a sharing of information.
And what information would you ask from us?
Well, I require an answer to a question from which I have not been able to... A question I've not been able to answer in any of my research. And it is this question that has brought me here. And I am still no closer to finding the answer.
What question?
All I need to know is... And he looks down at the blade again. He kind of looks up at you again, Johann, and he said, would you please... This is... uncomfortable.
Good.
And you kind of see him swallow quite hard. And then he says, right. Well, the question that I need answering, it's a simple one, but seemingly very difficult to get the answer for. The question is I just need to know the name of the wizard that built this tower. the old owl well. And,
Why?
well, if I may be so bold, I feel as though that is information which, for now, I would like to keep to myself in order to protect my life as part of this, perhaps, potential alliance.
Or I
Yeah.
could just... Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so that's your angle. You're expecting us to let you carry on doing this. And I gesture towards the undead bodies.
Temporarily. But let me assure you, once this research is completed and this information gathered, I have no reason to remain here. I will return to my homeland and bother you no more. This information is important, and there is a way in which you could get this information whilst I protect the research here.
Where is this book you speak of, containing my order's knowledge?
Well, that is a significant part of the research itself, which has not yet completely given me solid answers, but within this local area, I have not managed to quite pinpoint its exact location yet. But there is a way that you could gain this knowledge. It would require a visit to a powerful creature of sorts.
What creature?
She is known within local legend as Agatha, although I'm not sure that is her real name. A spirit, a banshee, who lives within the Neverwinter Wood to the north from here. She will be able to answer your question. She is known to answer a singular question to any who pay her a visit and don't manage to incite her anger.
I call the sister over.
She comes over. She says, yes,
Is this the wizard that kept you captive?
it is.
Do you have anything you want to say to him?
I haven't really thought about it, to be honest, of what I would say. She says, shame on you for holding an innocent woman captive. I understand that you need to keep your work a secret, but there are better ways. Shame on you. And then she kind of looks at you, Johann and Thorik, and she kind of gives you a nod as if to say, sure showed him.
Thorik suppresses a giggle. Like, well, yeah, that's one way to kill someone off.
I are leaning close to him. Is that everything?
And you kind of see his eyes widen. And he says, is there anything more I could do to encourage our working together? I do believe strongly that together we are able to achieve much in the way of knowledge. And I understand the Brethren have worked very hard over the centuries to deal with these vile creatures which infect our world. And I present an opportunity for you and your brethren to put an end to the suffering.
I lean in closer to his ear and gesture his head towards the creatures that he's resurrected and say, "Do you see them?
Yes.
They were once fathers, brothers, sons, mothers, and daughters. They rested peacefully. They are vile and putrid, and yet the only disgusting creature here is you." And I jam my dagger into the side of his neck.
Ooh. Okay. And as you do so, blood squirts out, and he kind of looks at you in panic. And he looks to Sister Gariel, who's just let out a shriek of sorts as you've stabbed into the neck of the Red Wizard. And he looks to you, Thorik, and you kind of see him slowly starting to fade as he's choking.
Thorik doesn't look away. I turn to the ghouls.
Okay. They stand still, looking at you quietly, and letting out very raspy breaths. And you see slowly whatever little amount of life start to fade from their eyes. Some of them start to sit. And some of them slumping against the wall before dropping to the ground, lying still.
Johann doesn't say anything, but he readies his tinderbox. Takes whatever oil he has left in the flask, drizzles it over the wizard, sets him alight, takes a couple of steps back, and just kind of slumps as he watches him burn.
Thorik goes over to Johann, and as he slumped down, he puts his warhammer back over his shoulder and puts his arm on Johann and just nods and says, "That was nobly done. If your order is to find out this information, if you're to seek out more people hurting people, it won't be by his method. It'll be by ours."
You know, I used to love this. The thrill of the hunt. Pleasure of the kill. I used to enjoy the smell of the ashes. Now, I don't feel much of anything. Thank you.
When we spend so much time in darkness, it's difficult to see the light. You've drawn me out of that.
Likewise.
I was shaken back there. But I see more of what you're trying to do. And if you're calling helps you deal justice to people like this. There is patience, there is understanding, there is kindness, and then there is truly people who are lost. Those people didn't deserve to be treated that way. And you saw that. You made the hard call. And you're the one that carries it. But you don't have to carry it by yourself.
It used to be the order was all I needed. But now, it seems I have other priorities. Johann attempts what might be considered a warm smile.
Thorik recoils. No, it doesn't. What's wrong with your face? Thorik taps him on the shoulder again and says, the people. Maybe this person doesn't deserve that grace, but I was wondering if you'd help me put these people to rest.
Should bury them.
Well, that can be arranged, or in my culture, some people prefer to be committed to the flame. It is an ease of passing through earth, fire, or water.
Very well.
So Thorik will start to gather the bodies. Does Johann want to burn or bury these people?
He wants to bury them, but we don't have time. He knows we don't have time, and there's quite a lot. Didn't you say there's about 12, 15 of them?
12 in total, yeah.
Do any of us even have a shovel?
I don't think so, actually.
To the inventory. Nope, I chose... I have incense and other such things, but not a shovel.
Oh, sister.
Yes?
The flame you cast upon the wizard.
Yes.
Would you burn these bodies?
Oh, yes, I suppose I could.
Thorik?
And so with the elven woman, I move the bodies and kind of respectfully place their limbs and just cover their faces with a piece of cloth or something just nearby. And Thorik goes, trying to remember the correct words for the passing ceremony of Bernard True Silver. He talks of joining with the light and asking for rest and safe passage for these people wherever they choose to go, that their feet will carry them into the beyond, and that they will be welcomed into whatever halls they go into of their four bears.
And then Sister Gariel shares in the prayer, muttering a few words of blessing and luck to their passing to the afterlife. And then she casts Sacred Flame upon the pile of corpses.
I do the same with her as she casts.
And they erupt in flame. The smell hits you hard of burning flesh. And you... Oh, Sister Gariel bows her head in respect for the dead. What would you like to do next?
I'll check the tent, see if there's anything valuable inside.
Grand. Thorik just notices the floating spectral warhammer still there, and just kind of gives a very weak smile towards it. Just mutters a thank you under his breath before just kind of waving his hand, and it dissipates.
Good. So, Johann, you step into the tent. You get to get a better look at it now that you're not filled with the desires to assassinate a red wizard from within. So, this tent contains essentially quite a comfortable travelling suite of furniture, a bed, fairly rudimentary, kind of somewhat like a traveller's cot type thing, a chair and a writing desk upon which, or not upon which, at which he was sat when you entered the tent reading a book or journal of some kind. There are some supplies in there, chests of clothes and things like that as well. And another chest too.
Peeky inside.
In the chest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the chest is a singular leather bag.
Do we detect anything magical inside?
Do either of you have detect magic?
No.
Oh.
Then no. You do not.
I don't think I do. I think I can, but haven't prepared it.
Not prepared, sure. Yeah, so nothing suggesting to you from your muggle abilities of any anything magical in there. You have not quite acquired that sense yet.
Very useful. Picks it up tentatively and has a peek inside.
Okay. So, within the leather bag is some coinage. 35 silver pieces. Do make sure to note this down, by the way, on your either notation so you can add to your character sheet later, or as we go. Probably notes might be better because there's a fair bit in here. 35 silver pieces. 20 electrum pieces.
Ooh, bloody electrum.
20 gold pieces. 5 platinum pieces.
Ooh.
There's also a pearl in there. As well as a bottle of red liquid.
Sorry, how many electrum?
That was 20 electrum
20.
pieces. And a bone scroll tube of sorts, and a tiny jeweled box.
This is completely unrelated, Wayne.
Yes.
I suddenly remembered in my inventory that I have two. Where are they? Where
Two
are you?
scrolls.
I have two scrolls that I never identified, but would have had the time to. I think it just slipped my mind.
Shall we come back to that in a little while? Remind me.
Let's.
And we will
let's.
And we will return to that, because I also noticed that you hadn't identified those yet as well.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah. So you have a. Yeah. So sorry, just lost my lost where I was. Yeah.
Tiny
so
jeweled box.
Tiny jeweled box and a bone scroll tube.
Okay. I take out the bone scroll tube. Examine it curiously.
Thorik, kind of Gandalf-esque when Pippin is picking up the Palantir. Kind of goes, I'll take that, my lad. And sort of very carefully sort of takes it because he knows this could be bad juju.
What is it?
It's a scroll, I believe. But probably not the sort of magic that either of us should tamper with lightly. Thorik sort of squirrels it away just to cautiously examine it at a later point.
Johann wipes his hand on his armor and examines the tiny jewel box.
Okay.
How tiny are we talking?
Fairly small. Pretty small.
like a ring box.
Maybe a little bit bigger than a ring box.
Johann. He's on one knee in front of the chest.
Well, when you've killed someone together.
It's not the sort of proposal I was expecting, but I could do worse. I have done worse.
Oh, Johann, it's runic.
So yeah, so it's a small box, maybe a little bit bigger than a ring box. Not by much though. Could you give me a history check, please?
Yeah. That'll be a 16.
Okay. So this is a very old box. Probably has some degree of value to it in of itself. You're not quite sure where from or how old, but it's almost antique in its nature, it seems.
Gives it a shake. Next to the old ear.
There's something within it.
Rattling around. What do you think?
There's something in the box.
Only one way to find out. So he...
I cast guidance on Johann.
But of course.
We're both just there behind the box.
So as Johann is starting to open, you're just muttering some prayer under your breath, presumably.
May the light, the better not crucible, please protect Johann from fucking up on this day.
You push open the lid of the box, and you see within a ring. It's perhaps a quite a dull metal, perhaps maybe simply some polished iron, perhaps. Certainly not as glossy and glistening as silver, but it does have surroundings, like bezels of gold. Okay, and on the kind of the top of the ring is almost like a signet of sorts, but the decoration is shaped. The actual protrusion is shaped like a shield, and there are greeny blue jewels decorating the shield shape of this ring.
Do I recognize the signet seal?
No, it's sorry. Maybe I misspoke. It's not a signet ring in the sense of like there's a seal on it, but it's more just that it's kind of, you know how it's got those protrusions.
Oh right, just housing the stones.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
A bauble.
That might be worth holding on to.
Did it do anything?
I'm not sure, but could be worth taking a closer look at.
I pass it to Thorik.
Things like this, wizards, they know a good trinket. I'll give them that.
I've known red wizards to be spectacularly vain.
Aye.
But it appears that's all that's worth taking in this place.
Can we take a look through? This might take a little while overall, but I want to sort of like start looking through, or just take the most important parts of this wizard's research to try and get on the trail of whatever he was doing here.
Okay.
He's alluded to this banshee, which gets my hackles up. And some other wizard was in this tower, all of which sounds real dicey.
Okay. All right. So, Thorik, you take a step over towards where his books were and his desk, and you can see there is a book, the one that he was reading as you entered, open on the desk, and you just take a quick glance at the book, and that is where we should end this episode. All right, great. Thank you, of course, as always, for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a rating, review, and a comment if you're on YouTube as well. And we will catch you guys next week.